in a very jolly, good mood. Prison with 30 years and you're in a good mood. It tells the following story. Story tells was that he not all about it, but he did have seen that he saw the Rebbe, was very impressed and very moved by the Rebbe, and he kept the minhag, many Chabad minhagim, including the minhag of having a Mashiach Suda. And he said he was very lucky that it was a very benevolent, kind-hearted guard who smuggled kosher food much more than he was allowed to give him. He got all the food he needed for Pesach, all the matzah, all the wine, and he was so happy he ate everything. Meat, fish, mamish. Guy was mamish. This guy was mamish, a shliach from heaven. He was expecting the guard would also give him, because he told the guard, "I have one last meal. It's a very special meal, and I hope you." And the guard said, "No problem." Lo and behold, the day is almost over. It's very close to the end of the day. He doesn't have a suda. It's at the end of the shliach meal, and there's no suda. No, he was very down. Guard comes in and says, I'm really sorry. I was caught by one of my colleagues, and I could lose my job. So I had no choice, and I had to put the Mashiach meal down, and I can't bring it to you. I don't know where he put it. I have no idea where it is. I'm so sorry. But you know what? Yeah. I mean, you get most of your meals, right? It's almost the end of the day, so you're pretty good, right? No, I'm not good. And he was very down at that time. He falls asleep, and in his sleep, he dreams about the Rebbe. The Rebbe starts telling him to say l'chaim, and he says, "How could I say l'chaim? I don't have my Mashiach meal." The Rebbe says, "Don't worry, you'll get it." In the meantime, right after he gets up from his dream, the guard comes running in and gives him the Mashiach meal. He doesn't tell him how exactly. Meets the guard after Pesach. He says, what happened? I'll tell you what happened. I very rarely fall asleep in the middle of my work, on my job. I fell asleep. It was strange. I wasn't even tired. I fell asleep. And a rabbi comes to me in the dream. The rabbi says, "Don't deprive that Jew of what he needs." But I don't know where it is. She tells him in the Rebbe in the dream, "I don't know where it is. It's not my fault. Look over there, whatever." I gave him the exact location where it is. It was a dream. So he figured, let's really see if this dream is true. And lo and behold, where the Rebbe told him in the dream, that's exactly where it was. And he says, "I knew if this rabbi did it, he probably will protect me with my job. I won't lose my job. And therefore, here you are, your final meal." So when his relative came to visit him after Pesach, he was in a good mood because he just witnessed an open miracle from the Rebbe. That's the story. Okay. So here's a Gemara that's quite interesting. That's coming up. Take this. This is new. Three here, just three souls.
Yeah,
3 souls.
I think he gave 3 actually. He did get 3.
Read in the Thomas. Another incident involving, you remember this guy who was very obedient in the laws of Kibbud Al Ba'ain. We learned that in a different class, and he would self-sacrifice not to wake his father up, even though he lost a great deal of money. He would have walked because the father had the key to and it was a big deal that he lost. Later on, Hashem rewarded him that he had a parah aduma in his, and of course he got a lot for that. But anyways, the next story goes when Rav Dimi is the name of a Talmudic scholar. He also Rav Dimi, when Rav Dimi came to Babylonia, Babylonian Talmud, he came from Eretz Yisrael. He traveled quite often back and forth. He said the following story. It once happened, It once happened that Dama, the same guy that we just talked about earlier in the Gemara, which we skipped that part. Dama, the son of Nesina, the name of the guy was Dama, the son of Nesina. This guy was dressed in a gold embroidered silk cloak. He was sitting with the nobles of Rome. Along comes his mother. When his mother came in, she was angry at him, ripped it off him. She ripped his cloak off him in front of everyone. You can imagine how he was mortified. And she hit him on his head. And spat in his face. And yet, He was a little nuts, of course, yet he did not shame her. So that's much harder. It's very easy to, to get angry at your mother for what she did. He didn't. So that's one story with the same guy. Telling us this is called honoring parents when their parents hit you, shame you in public, and yet you don't lose it. After that story, the Gemara continues on the next page. I'm sorry, the same page. Another teaching of the mitzvah of honoring parents. Tana Avini, we're going to soon see how this person was very special. Avimi, the Brei de Rabavo. Avimi, the son of Rabavo. Interesting, both have names that sound like father. Avimi, Abahu. So Avimi, the son of Rabavo, said the following. Yesh machil aviv pisyone. One can feed his father the best kind of meals, pisyon birds, special delicacy birds that were, very expensive. You can give your father or your mother and really feed them with all their needs. And you know what? And this act can drive him from the world. You can lose your life. It says when you honor your parents, you live long. You could give them all the needs they have beyond what they need. And you could lose your life. How is that? We'll see. And then there's the other way around. And one can make his father grind with a millstone. And on the next page, look at the next page. You have it. And this act can bring him to a life in the world to come. How is that supposed to make sense? So, of course, there is a footnote here. Look at the footnote on the bottom. Rashi cites from Yerushalmi. Rashi and also Tosfos both cite from a Jerusalem Talmud, which records incidents that illustrate both parts of Avimi's statement. Why would a son lose his life, lose his olam haba for honoring his father? A son customarily fed his father pisyon birds, but here's the problem. Once the father asked him, how could he afford to do so? The son answered him, don't ask any questions, old man. What do you care? Just chew and eat. By so reacting disrespectful to the father, even though he gave him a lot, the son demonstrated that caring for his father was a burdensome to him. That's one story. So this guy, although he gave his father the best meal in the world, yet he loses all the reward he would get for honoring a parent. Another man who worked at a mill had an elderly father. One day the king drafted the father for work. And when you're drafted, you don't know how long it's going to take. You might be stuck forever and hard work. And you're working for a stranger. So what did the son do? The son told his aging parent, Father, you know what? You work here and do my job here at home on the millstone. You do the work, and I shall go in your stead into the king's service. I'll work. It's much easier for me. I'm a younger man. I could do it. You work here. So although he didn't give his father anything, he made his father work. But he took his father's job and saved his father a lot of aggravation. So this is the person who didn't give his father anything, but he was so kind. This is truly considered honoring parents. Okay, here comes a story. You'll miss it. Very interesting story, and I have my own interesting innovation over here. The Gemara cites now how Avimi actually honored his father. 1/3 of the class just left.
Sorry. I just came back, so.
I don't count, so it's not 25%, 33%. Here's a story that I have an insight that might be interesting. Amar Rabavohu, here's the father, again, father and son. Rabavohu is the father, Avimi is his son. Kagon, he said, I brag about my son. He is such an honorable, he honors parents, he's so great in honoring his parents. Kagon Avimi Bari. Someone like Avimi, my son, Kiye Mitzvahs Kibud, has fulfilled the mitzvah of honoring one's father. He tells the story. Avimi has 5 ordained. Not samchi means like smicha. 5 children who were ordained, who were, certainly brilliant people. They were ordained as rabbis themselves during the lifetime of his father. And being that is so, he could have had them do, the honor of honoring their grandparents. But no. He have also Rabavo, and when his father Rabavo would come through the door, calling at the door, and when Hava Also, Reb Avo and Rabbi Avo would come, and Kari would call like Koreh, Abava on the gate, on the door. He would run and greet his father. Rohit. Rohit means he would run and open the gate, not have his father bothered to have to open. He would open it for him. Well, Amar, and he would say, in, yes, yes, I shall open it. In other words, I want to do the mitzvah myself. I want to do it myself. And he said it twice, I shall open it for everyone to hear. Yom Echad, one day, Rabbi Bo told Avimi, please give me a glass of water to drink. Ashkian Maya. Ashkian is like drink, like Maya water. But while Avimi was bringing the water, Rabbi Bo fell asleep, so he couldn't really honor his parent, because his father fell asleep in the middle. Before he had a chance to come back, he felt horrible that I worked so hard in honoring my father, and he falls asleep, and I can't wake him up. So he had to wait there. He bent down to see if his father maybe is awaking. Koyale, he stood there for who knows how long, until he was awakened. And it took a while. In the meantime, he was frustrated. In his frustration, something he never understood, a Dvar Torah, became clear to him, seemingly as a reward for his frustration. What was the Dvar Torah? What was something that became clear to him? Istaya Milsa, a divine inspiration occurred. They say, something hit. He had an affinity, and he expounded on the chapter in Tehillim, chapter 74, or 79 rather. 79. Take a look at the footnote on the bottom. This is the beginning of Psalm 79, Kapitel Ayin Tes. As a reward for honoring his father, Avimi was accorded understanding of this psalm, which until that time he was unable to explicate. Rashi cites an alternative explanation of the Gemara. Avimi's inspiration involved only the first pasuk of that kapitel, which states a song. Asaf is one of the actually descendants of Korach. Asaf says, I have to tell you a song. What's the song all about? Not very happy. Mizmor Asaf, it's all about the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. Listen to this. The nations have entered into your inheritance. They have defiled your sanctuary and your holiness. They have turned your Yerushalayim into heaps of rubble. That's a song? Should have said lamentation. What kind of song is that? So that's what he was bothered by. He never had an answer to that question. But while he was waiting for his father, something hit him. And he has the answer. Since the verse describes the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, Avimi questioned why it commenced a song of Asaf rather than a lamentation of Asaf. Avimi had the answer. I'll tell you why. Hashem vented his anger on the stones of the Beis Hamikdash instead of on us. So thanks to the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, we survive. That's what his answer was. And that's why we can rejoice. What's the song? Look at the top of the next paragraph. God spared his nation by redirecting his wrath from the Jews to the wooden stones of his own house. So the Beis Hamikdash was terrible, but at least the Jews were salvaged, showing that Hashem cares more about the Jewish people than the Beis Hamikdash. So what's the parallel? So the simple shot would be, you were in anguish because you didn't get. So I will give you an example of something that looks pretty bad, and you can see the silver lining in something that's negative. Just like there's a silver lining in that Kapitel Tehillim, which looks terrible, destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, and yet there's a silver lining. Likewise, in you're not fulfilling the mitzvah right away, there's also a silver lining. But that's kind of sketchy. I want to show a more of a direct, detailed relationship to the whole Dvar Torah with his frustration. What was he frustrated with? He tried very hard. He ran. His father fell asleep. What's he frustrated about? I want to do it. I want to have the source of actually serving him. I don't want to just be, I tried, I did my best. I want to do it. Many people are happy with, I did my best. Not my fault. I did my best. I want to actually do it. I'm not satisfied with, I'm not able to do it. So, I have a question to ask you. It's true, God saved our lives, but does that make it a song? We lost the Beis Hamikdash. Is that happy? To lose the Beis Hamikdash, okay, we were salvaged. True. But isn't this like a bittersweet thing? Isn't there some bitterness to this? We actually we lost the Beis Hamikdash. Why is that a mizmar? It might not be as bad because we now know that Jews were saved, but it's still a loss of a Beis Hamikdash, the holiest place on earth. So here's what I think. I think what's going on with him. He wanted to serve his father water. You know, on Sukkot, we have water libation, the greatest chus in the world, to offer water on the Mizbeach, plain to consider his wife. Our Father in heaven, when we have a Beis Hamikdash, we can give him water. We can actually bring karbanos. But Hashem destroyed the Beis Hamikdash. Now we want to, but we don't have it. You know why Hashem might destroy the Beis Hamikdash? Because we might have been spoiled. He wants to see how much you appreciate what you have. When it's taken away from you, and you start screaming, I want it, I want it, it's so dear to Hashem. He is so happy and rejoiceful that he gets more joy out of your thirst of wanting to do the mitzvah than the actual mitzvah itself. The fact that you want to, and you can't live without the Beis Hamikdash, means more to Hashem in Golus than when you have the Beis Hamikdash and you're giving him his water. He was giving his father water. Father fell asleep. It says in Golus, Hashem is asleep. Hashem is like asleep in Golus. And we can't serve him. We're in Golus, but we want to. So it fits. He was frustrated that he can't do it, so he got an answer to a question. Why is it called a mizmor? You know why? Because Hashem is saying that, you know how precious your thirst is? It's so precious to me. Don't complain that you don't have a Beis Hamikdash, because the fact that you are so thirsty for it and you want it so much, it's so dear to me. Of course, I will bring you the Beis Hamikdash. I will now you deserve it. Now I'm gonna build the Beis Hamikdash. I was waiting for this thirst. I had to destroy the Beis Hamikdash to see how passionate you are and wanting it. Now I can rebuild it because now you've learned a lesson. So you've just learned a lesson of how much you want to serve your father. That's worth more to me than the actual serving. I think that's the connection.
That's your own parent.
But so says YYG. Yeah, my own parents. Told it to my brother. He said, nice. So he said, nice. I got my ego boost. Okay. Okay. That's this piece. Let's go to the next piece. Interesting thing coming up there now. I'm sorry. Amarle Rabbi Yaakov bar Avuha Abaye. The Gemara addresses another question regarding the mitzvah of honoring parents. Amarle Rabbi Yaakov bar Avuha. Yaakov, the son of Avuha, also another word, father, Avuha, inquired of Abaye. Kagainano. In a situation such as my own, where before I return, I learned a whole day, I'm returning from the study hall. Kagon, for example, ano. Ano is the Aramaic for ani. The ad the asina mi beirav. When before I return from the house of my study hall, Abba madlili koso v'imi mozgali. My father prepares a cup of water for me, and my mother mixes the wine for me. Those days, the wine had to be diluted. You couldn't drink the wine straight. It was like mashke. It was very, very strong. And wine without mixing, diluting, mozga means to mix with water. It was not drinkable. The olden days, that's how strong the wine was. So my mother mixed some water with the wine to make the wine drinkable. She was offering me a glass of wine, my father a glass of water. They were honoring me. Here's the parent honoring the child. Heichi. Evan, who should I take from? Should I take my mother's offer or my father's offer? Amalei Abaye answered, Me'imach kabel, u'me'avuch lo tekabel. Accept the service from your mother, but from your father do not accept it. Why would that be? Wouldn't that be taking your mother's honor more than your father? No. On the contrary, the father would not want you to take the offer. He's testing you. He understands the value of Torah, and he wants you not to fulfill his wish. He's just testing you. The mother might really want to give you the wine, but the father probably wants you to say no. The kibon de bar Torah, since he's a Torah scholar, your father, he will become distressed if you allow him to serve you. So if your father is a Torah scholar, even though in a way he's honoring another Torah scholar, the son, that's why he said, I'm coming from my Beis HaMedrash, I'm coming from a holy place. Yet, if your father is a scholar, he probably does not want you to accept his offer of take my water. He's just seeing how much the son cares about. In other words, he wants to understand that the son understands the father's wish. So therefore, your mother really wants you to take it. Your father does not really want you to take the water of his offering. Go to your father first, to your mother first. Sorry. Another story. Gemara records the extent to which one Tana honored his mother. Rabbi Tarfon, who is a colleague of Rabbi Akiva, he had this elderly mother whom he treated with such respect. Whenever he wanted to climb into bed, he was very old. Gachin, he would bend down, the sulik leg, and she would climb on him into it. Whenever she descended from the bed, she would descend on him to reach the floor. The bed was very high, and she would need him to reach the floor. Also, Rab Tarfon came and lauded his own performance. You see what a mitzvah did? This is how you do a mitzvah of honoring parents with his body. Every time she had to go on and off, and she probably had to go quite often. On Malay, so they told him, you think that's something? Nothing. You have not reached half of the honor one can bestow upon his parents. Has your mother ever thrown a bag of money, your money, into the sea in your presence, and did you not shame her? Did that ever happen? It's very easy to honor a parent. Why not? But how about honoring her by not getting angry at her when she deserves to be scolded? Your mother she doesn't get any out of it. Your mother doesn't get any pleasure out of that. If you hold your mother, she gets pleasure. Wow, my son is amazing. He's helping me. But what pleasure does your mother get by throwing your son's, wallet into the sea? Nothing. You're just losing yourself. So you're not really honoring your mother at all. And yet, has that ever happened to you where you didn't get angry at her, even though she wasn't really doing anything for herself, just doing something totally crazy, and you have a right to be angry, you would think. And did that ever happen to you and you did not get angry? You did not shame her? That's called honoring parents, like the story with the guy before, that your parent does something really crazy and you don't get angry at her. Now the question is, was he obligated to let her do that? Didn't we learn, I mentioned it, that a son is not obligated to spend their own money for their parents, only their parents' money. You go on an errand, you buy things for your parents, but you use their money, they can afford it. But here, she threw out his money. Why shouldn't he be able to, stop her? Well, some say, yeah, you're not obligated to honor your parents with your money, but you're not allowed to shame them, even if it's with your money. So he couldn't shame his mother. That's one answer. So here, this tells you how deep kibbut over aim is, that even when the test is very strong and you're really tempted to let it out on her, and you don't. The Rebbe once told a girl, who wanted to have advice on how she could stay away from her mother, who was bothering her. She hasn't spoken to her mother for 2 years. The Rebbe said, "What? I would do anything in the world to speak to my mother again." But I shed some tears. What? Mother? I would shed tears. The Rebbe never had his back facing his mother. You know that. Never visited his mother. Every single day we visited his mother. But Rebbe, 1 minute was like a year. The Rebbe never wasted a minute. The story when the Rebbe had to daven for his father, that was before he became Rebbe, in the years when previous Rebbe was alive, the Rebbe davened for his father at yard sign. And the meeting started at 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, there was no meeting. It started at 10:03. 40 minutes late. So they told the Friedrich Rebbe, complained. Told the Friedrich Rebbe, we didn't start, we only started 3 minutes late. Wasn't lucky. But my son-in-law, 3 minutes, like a year. The Rebbe once said it when I went up to the camp to visit the kids in the camp in 1960. Camp Amuna, the girls, the camp Donningsville. The Rebbe said a sikha there, a bringing for the kids. Can you imagine? There was a flat tire on the way. The Rebbe was held back for about an hour. The Rebbe said 25 years later, I'm still trying to make up that hour. So, and the Rebbe would spend time with his mother as if there was nothing else he had on his mind. He had the whole Klal Yisrael on his mind, and the Rebbe would spend time with his mother. He would walk out sideways. Not to make it, obvious that he's trying to honor her. If he wouldn't like that, she would want him to walk. He's a Rebbe. She had respect. She called him the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Didn't call him by his name even. Thought the Rebbe. Here's a mother calling her son the Rebbe. She'd be at Fabrengens. She used to come to Fabrengens. Would sit if you're sitting with if you're the Rebbe, and I'm the Rebbe's mother, not Prophet Shalom, no how, not by need, no how. Why would help? Not to You're the Rebbe, and I'm the Rebbe's mother. That's kind of strange. I'm the Rebbe's mother, and I'm standing on the Bible shul. The Rebbe would stare at the Rebbe's mother. He would go like this, stare at her the whole Fabrengen. Every time he was talking, he was looking right at her. No, anyone wasn't looking to the right, but was speaking to the right around, right at her the whole time. And he was like sitting up like this the whole time, hours for her. Every Fabrengen. When she came to the Rebbe's wife never came to Fabrengen, never. She didn't want any attention. The Rebbe's mother sat there, and she was always smiling at everybody, always smiling and very, very warm. And she would, the story where she heard crying, cried at from Peter. I can't remember what the reason for it was. Oh, it was a song. The Rebbe taught a song. I think I'm going to repeat a song about 4 or 5 in the morning. So after hook up 4:30 in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, and tell the whole story about the song. We're going to start the song himself. And at one song, the Rebbe cried. The Rebbe's mother opened up which song he taught. She asked a boy, "Which song did my son teach?" And the boy said, "He sang this, but he cried." He cried. So she was very worried. She took this boy, walked with the boy into the shul the next morning where the Rebbe was standing, and wanted to see how the Rebbe is. The Rebbe smiled when he saw her. He went to it's such a beautiful sight to see how the mother is worried about her child. Beautiful. Anyways, here comes Rabbi Yosef. You have a trauma kala de ime. Rabbi Yosef, when he heard the footsteps of his mother, you know what he said? I got to stand up. The Shekhinah is here. The divine presence is here. You'll all be mothers pretty soon. Amar Ekum Mikame Shekhinah. Your child will stand for you like he stands for the Shekhinah. A mother is the Shekhinah. Powerful. Maybe even more than the father, because the Shekhinah is a feminine aspect of a God. God is feminine and masculine. Kadosh Baruch Hu is masculine. Shekhinah is feminine. Shekhinah is a divine presence, more related to earth. Women are more down to earth than men. So that level of a godliness that's connected to earth is the feminine quality of Hashem. So the mother, down to earth, a physical mother, is a replica of the Shekhinah. Here comes the Gemara with a powerful statement. The Gemara records an emotional feeling about the mitzvah of honoring parents. You can never do it. Whatever you do is not going to be enough. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Ashrei mi shelo chamam. Happy is one who never saw his parents, because you can never fulfill this mitzvah properly. Footnote 13, since it's almost impossible to honor one's parents properly, a child will inevitably be punished on account of not doing it properly. I want to save myself from that problem. Gemara objects to the statement about Abaye. Eini. Is it so? Eini? Yeah. But Abaye never saw. I'm sorry, I picked up my mistake. When Rabbi Yochanan was carrying him, his father died. As soon as she gave birth, she died in childbirth. So he had no parents. He never saw his parents. Abaye also, very well-known Talmudic scholar. Abaye shows up almost every page in the entire Talmud. Abaye also never saw his parents. He never saw his parents. In fact, the very 4 letters of his word indicate that. It wasn't his real name, but it's an abbreviation of 4 words. God will have pity on a Yosam. Asher, Aleph, Asher, Becha, in you, Yirucham, Yatom. Hashem will show compassion to an orphan. He was an orphan at birth. So the Gemara said he was an orphan at birth? Didn't he have a mother? Aini? Is it so that Abaye never saw either of his parents? Abaye used to always say, my mother told me. Amrali Ain, my mother, he would quote his mother 1,000,000 times. So he was living during his life, and she was living during his lifetime. Why do we say that Abaye also never saw his mother, just like Rabbi Yochanan? Well, it wasn't his real mother, it was his stepmother, or was his the nurse that took care of him. That woman whom he quoted next page was actually his nurse. She nursed him. However, Abaye called his mother because he raised him, so it was like a mother, but he never had a real mother. Okay. I guess the nurse who acts as the mother, you have to also honor, but not to the same extent as your own real biological mother. You know the story with the Rebbe, the lady who took care of the Rebbe. I'm sorry, not the Rebbe, the Tzemach Tzedek, who was an orphan, lost his mother. It was in Torah Leah. The Rebbe passed away when he was a little baby. So who took care of the Tzemach Tzedek? Very special nurse. And later, as her years were coming to the end, she wanted a reward for helping for taking care of the Tzemach Tzedek as a baby. So she got the Yechiz with Tzemach Tzedek. He said, I want some payback. What do you want? I don't want money. I want a Kaddish. I want you to say Kaddish after me. No problem. I will definitely do that. First night after he passed away, the Tzemach Tzedek said Kaddish. She came to him in a dream. Please stop. I'm scared of heights. You brought me to such. No. Here's another story. Crazy story here. We have some time. The Gemara relates an episode involving an Amora and his mother. A lot of mothers here in the story. Of Asi Habale Ahi Ima, the Kana. Rav Asi had this elderly mother who was a little bit, off from being normal. Armale, and she said to him, I want a lot of jewelry. He was an old woman already. I want jewelry. No problem. He thereupon made sure to make jewelry for her. But Ina Gavra, I want to get married. I want a husband. She was like 90 years old. I want a husband. I'm not waiting for her on the line for shit. I'll look into it. No, I ain't luck. Well, I'll look one for you. No. I don't want anyone. I want someone like you. I want someone as learned as you. I want one of, or as handsome as you. But Ina Gavra de Shaprik Avosach. She's a 90-year-old woman. She wants someone as handsome as you are, my dear son. He couldn't handle her anymore. It was driving him crazy. Shafka, he left her. Israel, and he left for Israel. Shama, and he heard she's coming after him because he heard that she was coming after him to Eretz Israel. Also, the Kamed Rabbi Yochanan, he came before Rabbi Yochanan and he asked him, my mother's coming for me. I got a message. Can I leave her? Am I allowed to leave Eretz Israel to bring her here? Well, Rashi actually says, can I leave Eretz Israel and go back to Babel with her? Because you're not supposed to leave Israel. Let's have a very good excuse. Is this a good enough excuse or not? What is the law? May one leave the land and Israel and go abroad? Now, what's this question? You sure can, but I don't know if I can really honor her. She's not a normal mother. So my question is, I'm not even sure if I'll be able to honor her on a suffix, on a doubt. Can I leave? That was his question. What? Yeah, because he doesn't want her to go. He's traveling. Let me meet her, and we'll bring her back home. And we'll finally. But she didn't really want to live in Eretz Yisrael. She was only going there because he was there. So this is how Rashi understands that he's asking, "Can I go back with her to Babel?" Because if he was just asking, "Can I just pick her up and come here?" Of course, you can do that. But if I'm leaving for good, going back home with her in Babylonia, in Babel, where she lived, take her home and take care of her again. And I don't know. Here's my question. It could be she learned a lesson. Don't bother me too much, otherwise I'll leave. So she might be, or maybe not. I don't know. It's a suffix. So Rabbi Yochanan says, I also don't know. I don't know the answer. Good question. If you would know for sure you can honor her, there would be no question you should go back with her. As important as it is to live in Eretz Yisrael, it's more important to honor your mother. But you don't know if you can honor her, so therefore I don't know the answer. So first he asks a general question. Can a person leave Eretz Yisrael? Mahu, let's say, what is the law? He asked Rabbi Yochanan. May one leave the land of Israel and go abroad in general? Amalei, no. Rabbi Yochanan replied to him, it is prohibited to leave Eretz Yisrael for no reason. No. Likras ima mahu. What about if you want to meet your mother and you want to take her back home? Could that be an excuse for leaving? Or Malay, I don't know. I don't know about your because I know your story. I really don't know. Israch Porto, Rav Asi waited a short while and then returned back to Rabbi Yochanan to ask the question again. Amalei, Rabbi Yochanan says to him, it looks like you really want to go. Asi, my dear Asi, my son, or my student, Nisratis, let's say, you wish to leave. You want to leave? Okay, leave. May the omnipresent return you to Babylonia in peace. So he was scared. He wasn't sure whether he was like angry at him. Yeah, you want to go? Leave me alone. Go. I told you I don't know the answer. Now you're asking again. You want to go? Go. Or was it like or was he giving him a bracha? He wasn't sure. So he asked his friend. Oh, so look how many Rabbi Loza. He went before Rabbi Loza. Amalei, Ravasi said to him, "Is it God forbid that he's angry at me? He told me just to leave, go, to hate. Perhaps Rabbi Yochanan was angry at me for wanting to leave Eretz Yisrael and didn't give me any, because all of a sudden he says, go. Amalei, Elazar asked him, what did Rabbi Yochanan say to you? How did he express this? Did he just say, just go leave, or did he say something else? No, he didn't say just go leave. He said, Hamokim, God, Yachzircha l'shalom. Rabbi Asi told him, Rabbi Yochanan said, may the omnipresent, may God return you to Babylonia in peace. Oh, Amalei, that's what he said. He mentioned Hashem's name. If he would be angry, he wouldn't be giving you this bracha. If Esau, the Razach, if it's true that he was angry, he would not have given you this bracha to mention Hashem's name in the bracha. So it's obvious that he wasn't angry. He really felt that the reason why you want to go back is because you came to the conclusion that you could honor your mother. And if you could honor your mother, by all means go. There's a Rambam Ravid Machlokas. You know the Ravid was? Great critic of the Rambam. Of Avram ben David. He always has something powerfully to criticize the Rambam on almost everything. You see him, that's wrong. Mistake. This is foolish. This is for children. Quite often he says, here the Ravid argues that the Rambam says, you don't leave your mother. Your mother, is impossible to deal with. You don't leave her. Get someone else to take care of her. If you can't take care of her, someone else can take care of her. Who's going to take care of her? Sorry, it might be tough, but this is your obligation. Now, the Rambam has a proof in this Gemara. The Rambam's proof is, he left. This guy was a Talmud Chacham. He left his mother. According to the Ravid, how is he allowed to leave his mom? Isn't this story a proof the Rambam was right that when a parent goes Meshuggah, you can't take care of her, you have someone else take care of her, put her in a home or something, let them take care of her? Because here, Rabbi Asi left. He left his mother. Later on, he thought about going back. But look, in the beginning, he left his mother, so it's proof you're allowed to leave your mother. He wouldn't do anything wrong. So how could the Ravid say the Rambam is wrong when the Gemara says the Rambam is right? The Gemara says that you're allowed to leave your mother for the sake of, if you can't take care of her. So you might want to answer, well, he's going to Eretz Yisrael, the mitzvah to go to Eretz Yisrael. But still, the Ravid was saying you can't leave your mother alone and expect anyone else to take care of her if you can't take care of her. So some commentaries say the Ravid had a different shot in this Gemara over here. That Rav Asi. Oh, let me finish the last, please. I finished the last two lines here. Mess this one up. Gemara concludes. Here's the story. What happened? He was on his way to meet his mother, and he finds out his mother passed away. And meanwhile, Rav Asi heard that his mother's coffin was approaching. She passed. Amar, Iyadi. If I would have known that she's already not here anymore, why would I have left Eretz Yisrael? Loy nafki. That's a simple shot. So, in other words, it was right for him to leave, but yes, he can go back and honor his mother again if he wants to honor her, but not to honor her after she passed. After she passed away, there's no obligation to honor her in this way. There is an obligation to honor your parents, saying Kaddish for them, mentioning their name, and learning in their schos. There's a lot of things you can do, but not this. Going into her coffin is not going to give her any extra. The Shamas over there don't really care about honoring the coffin. They care about honoring them with mitzvahs. That's what they care about. So that's the simple shot. He's having remorse that he left Eretz Yisrael for no purpose anymore. So this whole story tells us the Rambam is right, that you're allowed to leave your mother. Otherwise, how did Rabbi leave in the first place? The Ravid can say, you learned the last part of this Gemara wrong. You know what he was saying? Not if I only knew she passed away, I never would have left Israel. I would have stayed in Israel. No, if I only would have known that if I only would have known how sick she was, the situation, I never would have left her in the first place. I did wrong by leaving her. Not I did wrong by leaving Israel. I did wrong by leaving Bavel to go to Israel. So he's having remorse. The Ravid learns that he had change of mind. I made a mistake. Had I only known how much he needed me, look, she passed away. I never would have left her in the first place. The Rambam learns he's having remorse, not on leaving her, but leaving Israel to go meet her. She's not here anymore. So where is he having remorse? Is his remorse on the fact that he left her in to start with, or the fact that he left Israel to meet her again? That's the question. That's the end of the story here. Okay. I think we ran out of time.
Another class that like, if, parents wants to do something that's like, sort of good for their health.
Yeah.
You can be like, kind of,
Yeah, but
Grow with
in respectful way,
okay,
for sure.
about how, like, if they don't wanna go to the emergency room or whatever, like, can you force them to go?
Try to get someone else to force them if you can.
I can't personally force them.
If you can get someone else, better to get someone else. If you can, the only way to save their lives is by being, yes, then you can. You know the story of the Rebbetzin? Another story of the Rebbetzin, we'll stop with this. Chaim Baruch would be in the Rebbe's house very often. You know, he was having a home in different, never come to shul. He's saying, I'll hate, he's pouring, crying, I'll hate, I'll hate, I'll hate, I'll hate. What kind of hate? He said to Rebbetzin, and ask you a question. What do you what kind of sins did you do? You want to know? Yeah. The bombs were being, when I was running away from the Nazis, the bombs were being thrown. There was a guy in the street who was an older man who was totally oblivious of the danger. He just stood there. And I told him, leave, it's dangerous. He gave me up. And I told him, you have to leave, it's dangerous. And he didn't take me seriously. So I had no choice. And I pulled him away and he fell down and he screamed at me. I saved his life. But I heard him, I pulled him. I can't forgive myself for doing that. I could have maybe done the same thing without having to hurt. This is what we kill it for. The Rebbe said about her, only God knows her greatness. It means I don't know it either. Only Hashem understands how great she was. And her greatness is not only because a daughter of the previous Rebbe, she has her own kuyot. Yeah, we're finished.
Find or please clear off your desk, okay? Up to your garbage, thank you so much. Have a good job,
That's how Rebbetzin, huh? Okay. Lama, why would we miss you? Where were you? Oh, okay. More important than me, huh?
But.
You know, it's kind of like that's what happened when you're not here. You know, like what's happened to me? Aggravation. It ruins my whole province.
No. Oh my God. Okay, in your system, I'll be here bright early Monday morning and.
I don't
We'll be in a
think
naked class. I can't keep the day straight. Then Tuesday, 100%.
Rabbi Greenberg, good enough for you?